All right, don't miss the ninth Short Film Festival and Food Drive at the Woodbury 10 Sunday, March 24th at 5 p.m.
We have Nathan Block here to tell us all about this exciting event that he is going to be hosting. Nathan, can you tell us more here?
Well, thanks for having me on. Yeah, this is going to be the ninth year of our Short Film Festival and Food Drive. It's local filmmakers coming together to support a local charity. We're going to put all of our films together into a 90-minute program, a lot of short films. We've got comedy, we've got horror, we've got action, we've even got a documentary this year. And admission to see all of our work is only two canned goods. All of the foods we collect will go to the open cupboard emergency food shelf, which will be present at the event. And then you can enjoy an evening of local cinema in exchange for your food. And it's all for charity. And this is our ninth big year. We would love to have you as a part of it. It's going to be a great night.
All right. So everyone, don't forget, Sunday, March 24th at 5 p.m. at the Woodbury Theater.
Are you looking to get back to acting at all? Is that something that you want to pursue as well? Or how does that play into it?
Hell no. I get so much joy out of playing a dead person or out of shit. Like in the back of my movies, I'll probably do that where I like a walk on in every film that I do forever, just to say I can. And
welcome to Film in Minnesota. I'm Alan Tracy.
And I'm Rahana Power.
And today we have Keely Kemp joining us. Hello, Keely.
hi guys, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We're really excited to chat and get to know you. I think we've got an exciting episode here. So we want to definitely jump into it. We have lots of questions. But first, this is the first time we've met. So I want to get to know you on, I want to get to know Keely. So can you tell us something fun, unique, interesting about yourself?
Well, sadly, I can't think of anything fun or unique, but just so you know a little bit about me, I am a born and raised Duluthian. I live here. I have my three kids, and I've worked a long time in the entertainment industry, but never in my hometown until the past couple of years. So for me, being born and raised Duluthian and being able to work in this industry in a full-time capacity is, I guess, something unique in itself. So.
Yeah, that absolutely is. Especially, I think so many people, and we've had others from, Duluth or the Iron Range on, but I think that there's so many people who think of film being in the Twin Cities in the state. And so I love that, you're able to do this full time up there and stay, to where you're really rooted. So it's so cool. I assume you've got, family up there too. So it just makes it a little more fun for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Never did I think I would be able to tuck my kids in bed at night and go to work, the next morning and repeat it. So to me, it's a really exciting time.
Well, absolutely. So you're in the industry. How, being from Duluth and how did you, words are hard. What was it that really made film something that you were like, you know what, I want to do this? Like, how did you get started? What was it that made the light go on for you?
I will try not to take up the entire hour just giving you the backstory.
I love it.
But it starts when I was 8.
Oh, nice.
Honestly, it does start when I was 8 years old. I asked Santa Claus for an agent. I just would watch movies and think, oh my gosh, how glamorous and cool, and I want to be involved in that. And being a little kid, my parents would go on snowmobile rides out here in the country, and I would just put the scarf around my head and my glasses on and pretend I was Sharon Stone going down the trails. So yes. It's inside me since birth. But also being a kid and growing up in a place like Duluth, the industry didn't exist here. So all we had was what we saw on television and the local playhouse. So my parents knew that I was really passionate about it. And the only option really is to act. So I went to the playhouse, took acting lessons. I was never really into stage or theater. I always kind of had my eyes set a lot higher, but I was also told that it's not really a viable industry being in Duluth, Minnesota. And so I was kind of discouraged from thinking of it as a career path. So I did it as a hobby, really since childhood, just local lame TV commercials. And, anytime people needed, a body or an extra in something, I was always there to do it. But I kind of just put it on the back burner until I was older. Like, it's not a viable industry stuck with me forever, because being a little kid and even starting out acting, I only knew in front of the camera. I didn't know any of the world behind the camera. So once I started going on sets, and then I realized fast forward, I did end up like meeting people and going off to New York and whatever. And I would always go behind the camera and say, "What's your job? How did you do this? Like, what did you go to school for?" I remember some gaffer thought I was crazy because I was like, "What you doing?" But it's almost embarrassing to say, but I didn't know anything about behind the camera, because as that 8-year-old kid, I really thought the only way to work in the industry is to be an actor. So that's how I started. But I didn't stay in front of the camera. I'm kind of awkward anyways. So as soon as I learned that there's the whole business side, that's where I made the jump onto, the producer and behind the camera type stuff. But
what seems to like draw you more to that than in front of the camera? Knowing that that's kind of where you started.
Right. So I was always shy, even, acting. I was always shy. It was kind of difficult for me to put myself in front of the camera, but I wanted to be a part of the industry, but I just didn't know how. Being young and being told that it wasn't a viable career, I immediately went into other avenues of business and trade and all of that. So that's kind of where earlier in my career, I've been multiple business owner, and I've done different types of startups. And so I was very left-brained, very analytical. And so it was pretty natural to take that jump once I realized that exists. So that's what drew me to the business side. I love all the nerdy details, spreadsheets, numbers, all that type of stuff.
Love that.
Interesting. So being told it's not a viable career versus like nowadays where like everyone's like on the, show me thing, with TikTok and Instagram. You could be like a social media star these days, for instance. People grow up with like wanting to be YouTubers, Is that the same for you, but with movies or TV mainly? Was that how it kind of was like?
It probably with film. It's funny because I can't think of one movie that really strikes, or really comes to my attention for anything. I think it was just being young, and that was kind of our only entertainment besides playing outside. We didn't have phones, we didn't have TikTok, Instagram, none of that. And so for me, that was the stars, and that's what attracted me to it. So
was there anyone in particular that inspired you like from film or as an actor or a filmmaker or whatever?
Probably Sharon Stone, at least back then.
Wow.
There's been so many role models since then too. And I really like people for different reasons. Nowadays I don't really get hung up on talent so much as the people that I physically know and see working in the industry. So a lot of unknown people really inspire me, kind of people that have had some sort of impression on me personally versus somebody I've seen on the screen or that that other people would know of.
Right.
Oh, I love that. That really just feeds into the community of it. And and really the loving it for what it is, for the industry that it is and the art versus, you know, the fame. Yeah, that's fantastic.
As much as I respect my talent so much, like not my talent that I hire,
Yeah.
the crew to me are the rock stars. Like I see how hard everybody works and how everybody has to pull their weight to have something come together. And I look at them and admire them. I admire talent as well, but you know, the crew has to be there 12+ hour days for grueling schedules, and they have their own talents as well. So
Absolutely.
Right.
Can you tell us a little bit about, you know, the films that you've made and been a part of, and you know, any shorts or independent films, big features, like anything that you've gotten to work on and make?
yeah, sure. So, my journey as a producer started with when I made the bridge from acting into producing. The only reason I got into producing was once I learned enough about the business side of it. And granted, going back, I didn't know what the heck I was doing at all back then, but you got to start somewhere. When I decided to make that jump was because I was traveling a lot. I was working on both coasts, and my kids were really young back then, so it was really difficult. So it was my goal to work from Duluth. And I knew that if I produced content here in Duluth, that I could work from home. Well, back then, what I did was I was doing commercials and industrials. That's how I got my start. So I actually have never done a short film. You know, I've never, I went straight from commercials, industrials to feature films. And my first feature film was, the working title was Her Stepsister. It is now out on the Lifetime Network, Stalked by My Stepsister. So that was the first movie that I ever solo produced. So that was a huge accomplishment.
Wow.
I think that was in spring of 2021. And since then, I've produced Her Deadly Letters, which is another Lifetime movie. His Name is Michael. We just wrapped on last November out in South Dakota. And then I've been doing a lot of associate producer work on Mandy June Turpin's projects here around the area. So I worked on Mary Kiss Cam as an associate producer and production accountant. And then Rescuing Christmas, that was just released here too. And Body Language. So, and Body Language hasn't been released yet, but that one's very exciting. I don't know if you guys ever heard about it, but that was by the Hayes brothers, the creators of the Conjuring series.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's
Nice.
exciting.
Yeah, and then now so I own two companies. One's Friday Night Pictures, and then I also own Film Finance Management. So on projects that I'm not directly producing, I'm usually managing finances for them. So that's what I do with the bigger movies that are here. And then we just did one, Rebel Girl, down in the cities. And yeah, so I stay very busy, but I am currently working on a slate. We have the Yulla Film Fund, which is my latest project, is creating a $5 million slate for this summer. So we'll be producing about 6 movies based under the slate over the next 2 years, which is really cool. So,
What do you mean by the slate? Like what?
so
like
are you
6?
familiar with a slate?
No, tell me more.
Okay. So a slate is, so I focus more on the financial management of films. That is, I mean, I produce, but the finance management is kind of my bread and butter. That's what
So slated to
occupies.
film, basically.
Yeah. So I'm doing, it's basically like a hedge fund. So instead we have all these projects under one umbrella. And then it kind of mitigates investor risks, you know, and depending on the return of investment. So yeah, and then it keeps us working, keeps us and our crew working steadily because all of the films are financed for 2 years. So then crew can consistently work. So that's what I have in store for this year and next year.
Interesting.
And then hopefully forever after that.
That's fabulous.
Yeah. Are they 6 different filmmakers, or are they like 2 overseeing 3, or how is that divided?
No, it's all different people. from
Okay.
different backgrounds. I do hope to film 3 of them here in Minnesota, if not more. And I have my like go-to crew that I like to work with if they're available. And
Yeah.
I will be working with other filmmakers in the area, so we're not overlapping our resources as well, because we are still building the industry here. So,
Right.
yeah, I hope to have at least 3 of them here in Minnesota, and yeah.
That's such a smart idea. Good for you. That's
Thank
like
you.
that's so smart because it's like, yeah, that makes total sense. If you're worried about like just one film making its, return on investment, it's just like it makes sense to have it like pooled like that in the sense where you can make an overall amount back. So
Yeah.
yeah.
It works great for investors. It works great for filmmakers. For me, the past couple of years, I've been producing for other people, which I'm so thankful I have the opportunity to
Yeah.
work consistently. But one thing I see a lot is people would like their project, whether it's a writer, creator, director, team, whatever it is, they all have these amazing projects or incredible scripts, but they don't know the right people to get,
Yeah.
raise those funds. So what I see more often than not is people are creating their budget and then they go to get financing and it's so hard. So, what I really hope to do with my film fund is be able to strategically choose projects that are going to have a good ROI. And then, some things are just at the end of the day unpredictable. So you really do have to be able to mitigate that risk for investors. I don't want to go to, my investors friends and end up with a flopped movie right out of the gate. So, I'm doing my film fund very conservatively and very selective of the projects, but they're almost all of them are Minnesota filmmakers. And I really hope to eventually keep everything within Minnesota as the infrastructure continues to grow.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So you have so much going on and you're part of so many projects, big projects. Is there like a feature or type of feature that you would really love to make and be part of someday in your life? Like, I want to be part of a blank kind of film.
Yeah. I think ultimately, I would like to make my movies. It's so funny. Like I am so left brain and I am so analytical. I don't consider myself a creative at all, but I think a lot of really great stories come from things that personally touch you. So someday I would like to tell the story of, areas that have happened into my life that are relatable to, other people. And, one being domestic violence. I have a script that is kind of based on and around that and how preconceived notions about it is so different, than what, people imagine. So I would really like to be able to show kind of an insider view of that world. So someday I'll have to have a writer go through it and actually write it better because I'm not a screenwriter, but someday I would love to be able to have created by under my name as well. But until then, I'm totally happy to seek other people's projects and bring their dreams to life. I did just do his name is Michael. So that was a faith-based film that we did. And it was the first true passion project I've ever worked on. And it was also the lowest budget I've ever worked on. And it was such an amazing experience, because people are there for reasons other than just making money. And, everybody was just incredible. It was so many firsts, like it's the director's first feature. It was the lead actor's first feature film. It was the DP's first feature. I guess I didn't really know that going into all of it, but it was already financed and they're like, Keely, come produce this. I'm like, yes, sir. But when I got there, it was so impressive and so smooth, and it was just such a beautiful team effort, and it was the most beautiful looking film that I've ever seen too. So
Wow.
I'm very
Good.
excited for that. I'm not really sure what they plan on doing with it,
Mhm.
because it is a passion project. Uh, the investor actually really doesn't care about a return, so I think they're using the story more as like a inspirational a
Mhm.
project than a
That's
moneymaker. So
that's the kind of investor you want for your film. Money
Yeah.
is
I
no
know
object.
they
I
never
mean,
let me meet him.
Like, I would
Yeah,
love to
it's
pitch you something.
yeah.
well, and so that's kind of my goal with the Ula Film Fund is I know so many amazing writers that have these beautiful stories. And I
Mhm.
know every single person that is going to come together to create those projects are going to be just as passionate as they were in the last film that I made. And that's what I want to see forever.
Mhm.
So I have kind of a side quest question here. So okay, you make 5, 6 films, is it? Is that right?
Total
Yeah.
for the slate?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
It started out 3 and then it grew to about
Woo!
6. Now I have to stop.
Okay, so you have 6 slated for over 2 years, whatever.
Mhm.
Um, what about like after they're done filming, the marketing, like the festival runs? How is that accounted into the budget also, or how does that play into it?
So I do loosely plan on marketing funds. However, sometimes those P&A costs are worked out through the distributor once you have those types of deals.
Hmm.
So I don't have to, but it's smart to include those. When it comes to film festivals, personally, I've never done a film festival because I shouldn't even say this, but they're not necessary.
Mhm.
It is great for getting your work out there. But
Hmm.
what I like to do is have a distribution plan in place before I'm even making the film. So I know that so I work with sales agents who work with the distributors, and that's
Yep.
how I create my revenue projections on what the movie is going to be making. So we base our revenue projections off of the script itself, how the script goes, the highs and the lows, and if it hits certain things within the first 15 minutes, there is quite a formula to what scripts will produce dollars at the end of the day.
Wow.
And then it comes down to casting. There's strategic ways to cast. So then my partners will then review the market. They'll look at different comparable films. I always say 3 to 5 films that are comparable to the genre, the cast, all of that. And so
Right.
then we take that information, go to distribution, and then gather those numbers and see what markets we're going to be hitting in. And that way we can understand and be safe about our investments too. And then if you knock it out of the park, you're good. But you want to make sure all of your bases are covered financially in that way.
Okay, so you set up like pre-sales even before you start producing the film and things like that.
Basically,
Kind of.
basically.
Okay.
There's different ways. So with my film fund, it's fully privately financed. So we aren't doing gap financing. We're not doing any type of financing. It's just private investors and VC funds. So we're not taking into account trying to make up different financing in different places. So we don't do pre-sales per se.
Oh,
We're
okay.
just getting an idea of how much we're going to need for the projects. A lot of people do pre-sales though, and you can do that, especially if you already have a star with some major
Mm.
marketability attached to your film.
Yeah.
Then you
Mhm.
can go ahead and do pre-sales and then use that pre-sales to help finance your movie.
Right.
Man, that whole process is fascinating. It makes sense. I never would have thought that like there's a formula for it and that you're looking at all of these different factors and aspects. I'm in front of the not right now, but I'm in like in front of the camera person, and everything that you do is so much smarter than anything I could even like any concept I could even come up with. And it's just fascinating to me. I love that, like the plan and the organization of all of these steps that you've got going on. That's so
Thank you.
cool.
You know, nobody ever tells you it, and there's no school you can go to understand it. You really have to chase that knowledge down. You know, I've gone to school for many, many years. I've tried to do whatever I can do to be better in business, but I really never saw behind the curtain. You know, when I've produced movies in the past, they hand me a script, they hand me money, and they say, make this movie. They don't show you how you get that movie, or excuse me, the money. They don't show you how they get their money back.
Yeah.
You know? And so I really had to chase down and try to understand. It's hard to stick your nose in those doors, and you know, people are willing to let you understand. And I think it's really silly to not share that information. So like me and my companies, I like to be very transparent, especially with filmmakers. Like I've had consultations with various writers, and some things are just really hard to produce because it's either just way too expensive, hard to insure. You know, there's so many factors that even though it's a really amazing story, it's just over my head to be able to produce. And, you know, I think it's really hard for filmmakers to understand those things because nobody tells you. So, so there is formulas, you know, there are, and when I am working with a filmmaker who wants me to EP on their movie, we'll review things. We'll go over the script. If it's a really great story, you know, scripts can be rewritten over and over, and you can make adjustments. Right. And really, those first 15 minutes of your film are really important to kind of hit in different areas.
Yes.
So.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Like, yeah, I'm always surprised by films that can really transcend time in that way within the first 15 minutes, either it be a show or a movie, typically movies, but like how much can happen within that time to really get you into everything you need to know, you know, so fast. So yeah, so you started out wanting to act, and then you found your way into producing. Like, what were kind of the first of each for you? What was the first producer role? What was the first acting role for you? What were they?
Sure. The first acting role, I'm not going to really count back when I was 8. So my first paid, like, real life when I had to file taxes on the money I earned was probably in 2014, 2015. And I kind of hope they never hear this podcast because I'm going to be really honest with you. But it was kind of, you know, for me, it was a really big deal. It was my first real paid role, and it was an amazing experience. I think the movie just came out when I filmed it. It was called Wing Girls. I played a colonel in the Air Force, and it was a really fun show. Girl power, you know, it was a really cool movie. It was there was a lot of mistakes made with it. I think my huge monologue that I was so proud of was cut because of continuity issues. And and they eventually just like cut that whole chunk right out of the movie, and then had Arnold Schwarzenegger's son redo it. And then they put him in there replacing me.
What? Rude.
Yep. So I'm a little bummed. I'm sure I still have some scenes, but it's kind of small. But I mean, at the end of the day, I got paid for it. I hope I'm in the credits somewhere.
What? What? It's like girl power. Arnold Schwarzenegger's son. Let's get him in there now.
Right. Like, you know what? Actually.
One of those things with marketability, you know, they probably, because they made this movie so long ago, a lot of people make a lot of mistakes on their first movie. And I mean, that's how you learn. So, you know, no judgment whatsoever. But this is a sad truth, and nobody's going to like hearing it. But when I am talking to sales and distributors, they always want lead male or a strong supporting male that is known worldwide. That it still is like the part of the formula, and it's incredibly frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
You know, women can have really great American sales, but when it comes to foreign sales, having an American made movie, they really want a male attached to it. So how I justify me being cut for everything out of the first big movie I ever made and being replaced with him is so they could have somebody, and they did. They used his name for all of the marketing, and the movie I think just came out last year. This last year. It's called Called to Duty, I believe. I haven't seen it because I'm afraid to.
Yeah.
But I should start somewhere.
Oh, man. That's so disappointing that's part of like the formula that distributors are looking for. And I mean, it's not surprising, but it's so disappointing.
I know. And you know, things may change. I mean, I bet if I had Taylor Swift in my movie, she would be very marketable all over the world.
That would be the most popular. That would maybe beat out Barbie next year. Let's do it.
That's right.
Add a seventh film to the slate.
Yeah, right.
She can help fund.
I'll get there someday.
Yeah. She's a billionaire.
Yeah, you know, it's funny because we do have one film where we have a Disney star, and she's got, 7 million followers, whatever. And out of all of the movies that I have in my slate, that is the least bankable film, which is wild. And that's because her audience is American based. It doesn't have enough international appeal. So most commonly movies will break even, maybe make their money back in America. So movies really heavily rely on the foreign sales to really generate the actual profit. So
interesting.
That's fascinating.
Huh. How about your first producer gig? What was that one?
So my very first one that I was hired and I had a contract for was for the cast members movie. That one still has not been filmed. So they ended up getting under a contract with a company out in California, and they were locked in this contract for financing. So they, one of those stories where never fully financed. So we haven't made it yet. So I'm still slated. I'll produce, and that's one of that their contract expires in April, and then it's going to come under my slate, and we'll get the movie done. So that was my first one I was supposed to do. But the first feature film that I produced was Stalked by Her Stepsister.
Nice.
And that was great. It filmed fantastic, and we had distribution, got on the Lifetime Network, and I saw it.
That's big.
Good. Yeah, it was fun. It was really, really cool to film here in Duluth, and
we had great. Andrew Stecker on the podcast, Krista Rose also, who was the main lead.
I did see that. Cool.
Yep. Yeah.
So you literally do probably the thing that I think 90% of our guests say is the most difficult part, is the biggest challenge they face when making a movie, is literally the finances. And that is your bread and butter. So I'm curious, when it comes to your role, like when you're part of a film, what do you face as the biggest challenge?
Well, I would probably agree with everybody else. It's the financing, and that's why I'm jumping headfirst into that world, because I don't want it to be a struggle for filmmakers. I would probably say that's number one. But if I had to, financing aside, when it comes to just producing and working on set, is being able to keep everybody happy. I think a lot of my film sets, especially the smaller ones, have a very different vibe than others. It's everybody is awesome. Everybody's a rock star. I trust everybody to do their thing. So there isn't a whole lot of tension, but there are still people that, maybe don't get along or don't have the best impressions of other people, but I don't let their opinions kind of alter my view of people. That say I've worked with somebody and I've worked with this person and I love both of them for whatever reason, but they don't get along necessarily. So trying to mitigate those relationships and kind of foster a community where everybody can set things aside and have second chances and get along. That's, I mean, whenever you're working on a film set with 15 to 100 people, you know, there's bound to be some other stuff. So, and being able to be aware of that too. So,
yeah,
100%.
Yeah, someone needs to be your eyes and ears also. I get that. It's always a struggle because I wear the producer and the director hat, so it's like creative and business. So it's kind of like a balance that I have to constantly stride with. So I feel I get it. I understand that. Contrastly to that, what do you look forward to the most when making or starting a new project?
My favorite thing ever is probably the first development Zooms. Like everybody's so excited and we're taking a dream and making it come true. So that excitement and then creating a plan to be able to execute it, that is absolutely what I look forward to. And the casting. I love the casting too, because every single person you cast, it's like, it's so fun. So.
Yes, everyone is happy.
And everybody you don't cast, you're like, I'm so sorry. Next one, I hope.
Right.
Yeah. The highlight and the unfortunate piece. So what's your favorite thing about the overall filmmaking process? So from start, like the thing that you look forward to the most all the way through, you know, it's out, it's on Lifetime right now. What part of that journey is like your favorite, really just hits you?
That is a good question because I do love it all. There are things that are probably more difficult than others. Can I say the wrap party? The wrap party is the best. Yes. If we get to have one. And maybe the screenings or the premieres where everybody gets together and you get to see your hard work on film. But for me, the least greatest, not that I don't love it, but the least exciting part to me is actually seeing the finished project. Like I love the journey of it. Like for me, I get the most gratification out of working with everybody than what the product is.
That's why you need to submit to festivals. So then you have to dress up like on Cannes red carpet or whatever. You have to go black tie. You have to, you know, do all their rules and stuff. But yeah, anyways, they make it more, I don't know, more of an event than just a screening per se, right? So
that's true. And I do plan on doing more film festivals.
Yes,
doing a film festival.
Yeah.
I am definitely going to start attending them more too now that I'm getting to network more with more people, especially here in Minnesota, being able to see their work. And, you know, I always get to see it because we talk and whatnot, but I do want to go and share in that excitement for everybody.
And it's a good way of scouting too, in a sense, because it's like, who was the DP on this? Who was the audio mixer on that? Who was, you know, that person or whatever, you know, so.
Very much, yes.
I do that constantly.
Is there like a role that, I mean, you've done acting, you love producing and the finance management of it all. Is there some part of filmmaking that you're maybe still intrigued in or get more intrigued in? You're like, I want to actually try to maybe add this to my resume, like completely. Like you said that you've written some, like anything else?
I think probably not necessarily. Like this is my first year as a EP, and that is definitely the direction that I want to go in. I went to film school and business school and finance and all that, but when I went to film school, which I never graduated from, I dabbled in everything. I tried editing. Oh my God, you wouldn't have hair left. There, lighting is such a talent. I stunk at all of it. Like the only thing I was good at was bringing a good team together. So, so when it comes to anything inside of a film, no, I know my place and it's not doing that stuff. But, and maybe writing, but I know I don't have patience, number one, to write. Like I can actually these are my scripts right here. They're note cards, different colored coded note cards.
Okay.
And I make bits of stories, like each color represents a different element to the film, whether it's character, situation, and I just write them and I stick them in here, and then I'll work with a writer someday to actually piece it together.
Nice.
Because I don't have that ability to, it's kind of like a song too. How do you tell a story in 2 hours? How, a song tells a story in 3 minutes. You really have to be crafty to be able to distill it all down for it to be, thought and emotion provoking, and being able to, it's a craft. So I know what I'm good at. I know what everybody else is good at, and I'll stay in my lane.
That's brilliant.
Would you say you're a multitasker then?
Yeah.
Okay.
I kind of have to be.
Yeah, right. As opposed to like sitting down doing one thing like fully, but then you have like, you would maybe want to do multiple variety of things instead, or that's more your thing, maybe?
Yeah, I do. Just the nature of my job, I do have to multitask. And especially say January, it's one of my busiest, most craziest months because I do work on the financial side of things. I'm doing all of the year-end stuff for every project that I've worked on. So January is crazy for me, but at the same time, there's new projects wanting to come in that need budgets created. There's new projects coming in that need applications put together. And so I really have to prioritize. So I do multitask, but I try to designate certain days to different things and then prioritize my days based on the most urgent.
Man, that organization is amazing.
Yeah. I'm curious, are the films that you're, currently, I know this is kind of year one for you, but have you worked with like union or non-union mainly, or how is that going here in Minnesota, at least?
So I have mostly done non-union projects. I mean, the really big stuff that I do the finance work on are all union. When I say union, SAG, DGA, those unions, I've yet to work with IATSE. In the next 2 years, for sure this year, I don't think financially we're quite there yet. And just as an industry as a whole, for all of the new films that we're bringing in here and establishing the infrastructure that we still lack, which we do have a lot of infrastructure here. We have amazing talent, but we are still chained to our budgets, and it's tough. Definitely we can do things like overtime and things like that, but when it comes to say certain types of union contracts, it just really is difficult because it kind of locks us in a box where if we make a mistake or throws our budget off or something we didn't plan for or account for, it can really put us in a bad position. But I personally, with my slate and everything, want to base everything off of those standards and those guidelines. So because that I want to support crew. Crew is my number one anyways. So I want to be able to do whatever is best for them and how they're feeling. So I think it's really important to get there. And so I'm gonna figure that out as I go here, but not immediately. So.
And just more side questions here. What are some other states you've maybe had to work within for production, whether it be for tax incentives or otherwise? Like, have you cross-pollinated with other state incentives or anything, or?
So I have a little bit. My last one was in South Dakota, and they have no incentives. But what they do have is soft equity. So we take a lot of different things into consideration when choosing where to film. Incentives is huge, huge. But there's a lot of strings that are attached to the incentives too, and then timing, and especially here in Duluth when everything is everybody's trying to get this, and things deplete very quickly, so you can't always plan on those for sure, so you have to explore other options. So I have looked at other states. One of my first films under my slate we're producing in Idaho. And the reason they don't have incentives either, but back to the soft equity, it's so easy to go into a smaller town and they will support you 100,000%. So you're able to make a $500,000 movie for $300,000 because of the support that you get, whether it be, locations, deals with lodging, that type of thing. So there's so much to factor into where you film and why. I recently did just speak with the Film Commission in Missouri and Texas as well. I do have one film in the slate that needs to be filmed down south, which will probably be about 4 hours south of Atlanta. I'm not all the different states have different types of incentives, and I don't have all of those memorized, but I do have areas that I'm interested in filming in for different reasons. And, and that's ultimately why, but it's not always factored in by incentives.
Okay. Like locations, obviously, or maybe talent access. I don't know. It could be like scheduling. So.
Yeah, for me, it's really, and weather. Like Minnesota, we can only film certain things certain times of the year. So I do need to be able to find alternative areas that I can film in. But, I don't, even when I am filming out of state, I'm still bringing my crew that I work with. So when we filmed in South Dakota, which that's not too far away, but we used almost all Minnesota crew, and then a few from, other states. But I work most efficiently with the people that I know and trust. And, even if we do film, we still kind of have our core group that we like to work with if we can make that happen. So,
right. Well, would you say you have progressed thus far as you would have expected in your career, or is this a completely different path in general, or how do you see this playing out?
Probably at the end of the day, probably totally different than I ever imagined it to be, because back in the day, I thought I wanted to be an actress, and then I'm like, oh my God, I'm terrible at this. Got to find a plan B. And then I remember I dreamed of being a producer. Like that was my goal. And that was in like 2018. So that wasn't that long ago. So I think I kind of excelled very quickly, and it was kind of right place, right time too, with everything that's been going on, and having the limited experience that I had kind of put me in the right place at the right time. And then it was kind of trial by fire. I had to learn really quick, but I screwed up a lot and I learned a lot really quick too. So I was able to excel very quickly and get a lot of experience under my belt. And I still never really thought I would work in the finance side of things, but I like to fix problems. So if I see an issue, I want to analyze it and fix it. And that is just one thing that I keep seeing. And I love working in the finance side. Never thought that I would work in finance. Never thought I would executive produce, but I see myself, working within this wheelhouse for a while. I don't know what's after that. I'm not really sure. So I'm just going to try to do some slates consistently and keep going from there.
Love it. And Minnesota's, if you're from here and you're still living here, kind of sounds like this is really where you want your home base to just permanently be. Would you ever, like, if the company got just continued to like exponentially grow and everything, would you consider like moving out of state to somewhere where you could handle just an obscene amount of projects or something? Or is it really that's like one consistent thing is you want to just be here no matter what?
That is a really good question because I don't really know. I've really grown to appreciate where I'm from. And I have children here that are probably going to be anchored here. So, and my family, so I will probably always keep this as home base. I'm part of different groups where I meet with different producers weekly, and they're from all over the world, actually. And I don't know if it's because of COVID and everybody's kind of come together in a lot easier daily contact. But I definitely don't see having to move to be able to scale my company. And also, sorry, I'm losing my thought here for a minute, but I don't plan on moving anywhere outside of the area anytime soon. And I really care about the communities and economic development. And I want to be able to do that here. I also think of, being able to be a big fish in a small pond, or I don't consider myself a big fish. I kind of consider myself more like a goldfish you win at the fair that's inside of its own little plastic thing, and then you can put that in a tank, and I'm just that little one floating around in the little bag but inside of a big tank. So if you catch my analogy there. So
the bag comes with no matter what. You don't take the fish out of the bag. So
that's right. There it dies, and then you got to flush it down the toilet. So who knows what's
Thank God for that bag. We can just take it out.
I'm just happy in my little starter bag.
Yeah.
All right. Everybody wants to win that goldfish at the fair, though. Like, that's the most prized thing that you can bring home. Like, my niece brought one home and named it, I don't even remember, it was something super funny, like Unicorn Larry or something. But on the way home, and that was the thing she was most excited about. She was so happy. So even if you are the goldfish at the fair, that is one of the most loved things that you can get. So.
Yeah. Awesome. I'll take it. So, yeah, I'm content. I'm content for now. And I kind of feel like, I shouldn't say I'm old, but I feel like I'm just kind of here for now.
Yeah.
I do have a lot of life ahead of me, but I feel like here's my stability, and I can maybe someday be part-time elsewhere. I love networking outside of the state for sure, but Minnesota's home.
Yeah.
I love that.
I noticed you have some acting credits in like Stalked by My Stepsister and a few other things. Are you going to, like, I notice these are probably more background or extra roles, but obviously you're contributing in that way to the film, and are you looking to get back to acting at all? Is that something that you want to pursue as well, or how does that play into it?
Hell no. I get so much joy out of playing a dead person, or there she is. Like in the back of my movies, I'll probably do that, where I like a walk on in every film that I do forever, just to say I can, and
Alfred Hitchcock movie.
I've really, I don't know if it's because I have been behind the camera for so long, but I am so shy or self-conscious, and I think acting too is the muscle that if you don't use it, you lose it. So I don't, after working with so many talented people, I don't think I have that talent. I mean, I think about this a lot. I always heard back when I was an actor that if you're not getting enough roles, be a producer, and then you can, put yourself. And actually, the movie Shuteye that I'm doing, producing in Idaho, it's created by the lead actress.
Cool.
So it is one of those things where, I know people do that, but I really have no desire to do that anymore. I like doing what I do.
I'm in the same lane.
And that's good. I mean, you want to be everyone wants to be happy with their career, and like finding that role and that thing that you really love and you want to continue doing, and you don't have some like burning itch to do something else. Like, I mean, that's literally the dream. So that's amazing.
I get more excited when I see like my dishware in a movie than me. And when you work on low budgets, it's a lot of your stuff from your own house.
Nice.
Or like if the lead actress is wearing my shirt from my wardrobe.
Yes.
Yep. Props, wardrobe.
So-
Yep.
And you wear it to the premiere, so you can be like, right, yep, like right here, right, that's mine. Yep.
It's relevant, this sweater or sweatshirt and sweatpants, because it was in the movie.
Yeah. It's fitting, you'll get it later.
It's comfortable, and I'm going to go to the premiere in it. So
And if it's a hit, I can sell that shit on eBay.
there you go.
Exactly.
Yes.
Make
Memorabilia. Yeah.
Oh,
Do you?
so, go ahead.
Yeah. Do you like keep any mementos from like your productions, like something, like a prop maybe, or is it maybe something behind the scenes? I don't know. Is it?
I sure do. I started a couple of years ago. I would take the script and I would have as many people that worked on the project sign it, you know, whether you're a crew, actor, whoever you were. So I would have people sign my script. And then I would put it in a little shadow box with a trinket from the film. So, you know, my last movie, well, I don't have that one put together and on my wall yet, but the one before that, Rescuing Christmas, I have a set of elf ears. They weren't mine. I don't know whose they were, but you know, they're in my script with in my box. And I have some jewelry from some of the movies that where the lead actors have worn. And so yeah, I do. I have Christina Milian from Body Language. I have her engagement ring in my case. So I do. I definitely try to make sure I save something special and along with the script, because you never know. And you know, maybe my kids will someday think that's cool.
It's awesome. So hopefully they do.
Wow.
So
That's exciting. Yeah.
Keely, where can people find your work? Like, where can they go to say, like, okay, I want to watch the films that she has done, like what she's producing, all of this, and like support like the amazing work that you're doing for the film community here, and
invest.
Yeah, and exactly. Like, if people want to maybe connect and pitch you something, or like see how they can maybe get involved with like the amazing work that you do.
Yeah, well, you know, all of my movies are kind of all over the place. They've had been released on different platforms. So it's really hard to say. You kind of have to see where it's airing at the moment. Most of the stuff that I've already done is out there. We have, you know, Kiss Cam was on Hulu. But that was a year ago it came out. Rescuing Christmas is on the Hallmark streaming platform right now. That's such a cute movie. It's really good. And a lot of Minnesota people in there. Stalked by My Stepsister, I believe, is probably on the streaming platform for Lifetime. Not entirely sure. And then I don't believe the others have been released yet. So I'm sure if it's been Googled, you can find it somewhere. But as for a centralized place, I don't have everything all in one. But as for me and what I have going on, I use Facebook to network for everything. You know, I'm always very public about the projects, crewing up, casting up, all of that. So just, you know, anybody is welcome to shoot me a friend request and we can network that way. Otherwise, I really don't use a lot of social media. I tried years ago, but I don't have the capacity to keep up with that. I'm not rich enough to have somebody else do it. Yeah, I mean, Facebook is probably it. And I do have a website, filmfinancemgmt.com is my film finance management page, and there's a link there to Friday Night Pictures. And I do have another company, Polished Perception, that I established in 2010, but that is now being absorbed by Friday Night. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I will I'll put more information about this slate. It is a privately funded. We're not publicly offering it, but we are able to have up to 35 unaccredited investors. So if there are people that are interested in joining the film finance world, we will have more information. I'll have that on my website, and I'm sure I'll post it all over Facebook too. So
Great.
Fantastic. All right. So last question is the big question. What do you want people to remember most about you?
That is kind of hard to say. I think my most important thing that I like to convey to people is, people that know me, but people that may have just heard my name or something. I know I'm kind of this mysterious person out of nowhere in Duluth, and I really would like to be recognized for the ability to bring people together and collaborative spirit. And I really, truly believe in abundance for all, not just, one person out of the project. So I'm a big fan of rising tides, lift all ships. So that to me is really important.
Amazing answer. I love that so much. Well, Keely, thank you so much for hanging out with us and letting us just pepper you with questions. It was really fun getting to know you and hearing about everything that you do. Again, fascinating. So thank you so much for taking the time.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. Lovely to meet you.
And for all listening, this has been Film in Minnesota.